listen to those hoity-toity. Those are the rich folks. You want to know what life was really like back then? Come on over here. You have come to the right person. I'm Maude Ryan. That name was well known all over New York State back in 1909. Well known. Because of the fact that I was murdered by that no good-for-nothing Beecher Faber. He shot me right here, and he meant to kill me too. You looking for my headstone? It ain't around here. Look down there. See, way down there, those old stones down the bottom of the hill there, those were brought over from the West Street graveyard. And beyond that is the pauper's lot. No stones, no nothing. That's where they put me. I came into this world, horrible world, February 15th, 1884. I wasn't born in this stinking town. I was born in North River, an even worse stinking place. My father, Samuel Richardson. My mother, who always tried to do right by me, was named Della. She was with me when I was born, and she was with me when I died. We married young up in the hills. You can see I was almost pretty once. Almost. 1901, I turned 17. I met Harry Bump over in Pottersville. He was about my age, and we got to fooling around, and he was good at it. So anyway, I got pregnant right off the bat. You heard of a shotgun wedding? Well, this was a 12-gauge shotgun wedding. We went over to Sandy Hill to my Aunt Nina's and got hitched. Our daughter Dorothy was born shortly thereafter. Well, we set up housekeeping, but we were young, too young. We were kids. So I told Harry to take off, and he did. I gave the baby to Aunt Nina and Uncle Fred Partridge to raise up, and they raised her up. Took her down to Schenectady, and I didn't see her again. They told her she was adopted, but no details, like she was their niece or anything. Poor kid, she died young, 42. She had a kid, too. So I came down here, got rid of the husband, made sure my baby was safe for life, and then I met Jack Ryan. Well, Jack was older than I, but anyway, he ran a lot of drinking places. Not always legal, but they always made money. The first time I was arrested for serving in an illegal drinking place called the White House over in North Caldwell. When I got out on bail, I went right back to work. But first, I went over to another tavern nearby called the Summit House, because I just knew they were the ones making trouble for us. And I said I'd get vengeance. And then I went to the authorities and I told them that things at the Summit House weren't run strictly orderly fashion. Grand jury didn't indict me either. Well, I guess it's time to tell you how I got murdered. But first, I want to set up the characters. Beecher Faber. He was about my age, and he was the biggest troublemaker in Glens Falls. He ran prostitutes, he robbed houses, he assaulted people, and he had a furious temper. He married this young girl from over in Fort Ann, Edna Nelson, and he had her out working the streets for him. He didn't like to work. He had his women get his money for him. I guess they thought he was worth it. Poor Edna. She was from a good family, but she got arrested, sent off to women's prison. When she got out, she went back home to Fort Ann, but Beecher Faber followed right behind. And when he wouldn't leave, Edna's father shot him point blank. Somehow Beecher survived. Jack Ryan, he was my boyfriend. I never divorced Harry, but called myself Maude Ryan anyway. Well, Jack ran all kinds of drinking places, but he finally settled on the Fourth Ward Café over on West Street near South Street. Jack was a good sort to run a bar, friendly most of the time, and could handle the drunks when needed. Jack Kelleher, an innocent bystander at the tavern. Well, it all started November 21, 1908, when Beecher Faber came into the Fourth Ward Café. He always liked to be in charge, and he started causing trouble. Well, Jack had dealt with him many times, and he asked him to leave. Well, this time, Beecher picked up a heavy iron cuspidor and smacked Jack right across the head with it, causing a large wound. Well, Faber thought he'd killed Jack. Then he took off running, got as far as Schenectady before they dragged him back. This was a pretty blatant crime with witnesses, and the coppers thought they could put Beecher Faber away for good. being the dumbass that he was, Beecher's father came up with the $1,500 bail. $1,500? That was 5 years' salary for the average man. As soon as he got out, he called up the cafe, and he told Jack that we better not testify against him if we know what's good for us. Well, Jack said he'd just forget about it. I refused. Case came before the judge on January 13, 1909. And Jack didn't identify him, but I did. So he was back in jail, and his father comes up with another $1,000 bail. So he was out. Well, the calls to the cafe were constant. I refused to speak to him. I was supposed to be afraid. Here I was, first time in my life, doing the right thing, and this hooligan's trying to threaten me. I kept right on working, up his nose. January 27th, Jack and I were running the bar like regular, and Jack had to go back in the kitchen for an order. So he asked me to go up front and cover for him. So I came into the bar. This is what I was wearing. I was supposed to be in the kitchen. Well, the bar was a pretty happy mood. There were people over there singing, some people over there dancing. All of a sudden, the door burst open, and Beecher Faber came in firing. Well, the first bullet hit me in the wrist, and when I turned with the blow, the second bullet went right through my stomach and my liver, and I fell to the floor badly wounded. The next bullet hit poor innocent Jack Kelleher right in the back, right through his lungs. Jack heard the screams, and he came running from the kitchen, and the heavy metal tray he was carrying full of dishes deflected the next bullet, and he was unharmed. Well, Beecher Faber pulled down his hat and pulled up his collar and took off down West Street. Well, they picked me up, and they put me on the bar. They went over to Hudson Avenue and got my mother. She came right over. Then they decided I needed to go to the hospital. So while I was on the way there, Jack called the cops. Well, there were at least 10 people saw Beecher do the shooting, and 10 more saw him leave the bar. Found him 3 blocks over, sitting at his father's table on Uncas Avenue. Acting like nothing. Denying all knowledge of the affair. Well, they put him in jail and waited to see what would happen to me. Well, they thought Jack Kelleher would die from his wounds, but he lived another 4 years. I, on the other hand, lasted 4 days. I was 25. This murder made the papers nationwide. His first trial, Beecher tried to prove insanity. So they sent him down to Schenectady for incarceration and evaluation. At his first trial, some people believed his story, and it was a hung jury. So in his second trial, he was sentenced to the electric chair at Dannemora. He was retried on appeal. He got 20 years to life. Served 14 and a half years at Dannemora. He was finally released on parole in 1925. And the last time he was heard from, 1940, Great Meadow Penitentiary. He couldn't stay out of trouble. So that's my story. You want to go listen to those hoity-toities? You go right ahead. None of them will have a story like mine.